Nikki Bhamra. Nikki Bhamra is a former senior crime investigator and human behavior expert, renowned for transforming investigative techniques into powerful leadership strategies.
I bring an investigative lens to leadership, helping leaders see hidden patterns, ask better questions, and unlock new ways of thinking.
This is where I come in. I help leaders to think like investigators, to spot what others miss, to ask sharper questions, and to lead with clarity.
We were running a major operation targeting an organised crime group that we'd been tracking for months. And on paper, everything looked ready to go. The team were briefed, the intel was checked, and the location was confirmed. But it didn't quite go to plan. And afterwards, I sat and had a one-to-one with one of the newer officers on the team. And she told me that before we went out, she'd spotted something that didn't quite sit right in the timeline. It was a minor detail, an inconsistency. And when I asked her, why didn't you raise it? Why didn't you say something? She said, I thought it was just me that was missing something. Everyone around me just seemed so sure. And that's when I realised that we hadn't just missed a detail in the operation, we'd missed what her silence was signalling. We often assume that people stay quiet out of fear, but actually it's more subtle than that. It's not always the fear of punishment, it's deference. The quiet pressure to defer to the group, to the leader, to the more experienced people in the room. It's the fear that speaking up might seem as if you're the one that's perhaps missed something. And that's how psychological safety breaks down. It's not with confrontation, it's with quiet compliance. And when that happens, we don't just miss a voice, we miss an important signal. And in high stakes, high pressure environments, that costs us far more than we realise. Psychological safety, it isn't about beanbags or being nice to each other or naming a safe space. It's about whether people in your team feel that they can interrupt the flow before a mistake becomes irreversible. It's whether they can say, this doesn't feel right, or I think we've missed something. And it's how you as a leader responds to that. And about whether you as a leader make that easier or harder every single day. I've worked in teams where people were just too afraid to speak out. But I've also worked in teams where people couldn't wait to debrief and feed back to the group. And it's not about personalities. The difference between the two comes down to leadership. I would ask my teams after every operation, what didn't sit right with you? Not necessarily what went wrong, but what felt off. What could we change for next time? And I listened with intention, even when it was uncomfortable. And over time, my team realised that actually, when they speak, I listen. I listen with a curious, intentional mindset. And over time, they realised that they weren't going to be shut down, they were going to be listened to. Psychological safety is not created in big grand gestures or in your strategy documents or your leadership day. It's created every single day in the workplace in those micro moments that we may not stop to realise matter. It's when someone shares bad news and you thank them for sharing that. It's when someone hesitates or doesn't really speak up in meetings and you stop to ask why. And it's when somebody may challenge the group and you back them, not just privately, but publicly. Safety to speak, it doesn't need permission. It starts with your pattern of response. So if you want to know how psychologically safe your team really feels, don't ask who's speaking, ask who's not and why not. Because the person who spotted the risk may be the one that sat in silence. And silence is never neutral.